This week, we have another Friday night stream. This particular week, it's not myself and Eric Beimford doing shots on stream. I thought we would get into an actual draft and do some tournament dive in with my good friend Dean, who you know from rotogrinders.com, who has been diving deep into these best ball streets. Want to hear his takes as someone that's been coming in over the last month, see what he's seeing if he's seeing stuff that we're not seeing, and pick his brain just a little bit. So let's get into it.
Three, two, one, liftoff.
What is up, Dean? Thank you for joining us here at Spike Week. It is a privilege.
The privilege is mine, man. By the way, let me formally congratulate you. I'm sure you've heard it plenty, but congratulations on your finish in the World Series of Poker.
Thank you, sir.
And yeah, you're supposed to stay in your lane. I'm told people have yelled at me before, stay in my lane. But I've been dipping my waters in the best ball streets for sure. Not since you have, like since what, February or something like that. I dove in about 3 weeks ago or so, and it's much more enjoyable than I anticipated. I'm an honorary best ball bro. I'm looking forward to drafting tonight. I reached out to you, I think, as far as jumping on here because, you know, I've had a great time drafting, and I'm curious to pick your brain. And I've listened to some of the podcasts. I've heard your take on soup. I'm with you, by the way.
Oh, good.
So, is soup a meal? That's a whole other conversation. Here's just one more question for soup. That's the derail the show altogether.
Let's do it.
What was the last soup that somebody invented? Like, why did they stop inventing soup? Name the last new soup.
Oh, that's a good question.
Has there been one?
I don't know if there's been a new one.
They're
So, for a side story, I went to New Jersey this week to go hang out with my friend Crystal, who she's a movie reviewer on YouTube. She works for Hack the Movies, does a lot of movie reviews.
Sweet.
And we argued on my other show. We reviewed the movie Cobweb, and we got into an argument about soup. So just to spite me, when we went out to dinner, she ordered soup, posted it in my Discord, and I was very upset about it.
I like her. Knowing nothing else about her, I like her. Out the gate.
Yeah, but soup, mid. The most mid of mid meals. So now that we get the soup talk out of the way.
Yes.
So what made you start jumping into the best ball streets? You said you've been doing it for like 3 to 4 weeks. What was the allure in July, August to start doing it?
Yeah, you know, I have Twitter. I hear people talking about it. The best ball bros see me having a good time. Yourself, Eric, all the people out there tweeting about the football takes. And I'll tell you what really got me going is kind of sort of was work related to some degree. Been working on Sirius the weekends. Rotogrinders has been on Sirius for like Saturday, Sundays, you know, the past so many months. And they're like, hey, we should talk football. And I'm like, typically as a DFS guy, that is like, you know, what I've been doing, grinding the last 10 years or so. I don't care who like the rookie the Chicago Bears drafted is until like it's like 2 days before the season starts. I don't care. Like and I don't even know who it is. And I don't really watch college football. And you know, eventually I will catch up. I will figure it out. I'll be locked in and good to go on day one when it's opening day for the NFL. But it's just not something I have to acknowledge. But I'm like, well, I mean, I don't want to just be a buffoon on the radio. I want to be actually aware and like, you know, locked in and say, okay, wait a second. Aaron Rodgers is on what team now? Okay, I guess I want to watch Hard Knocks too. And so it was kind of sort of job related. And then I just started like, you know what? Let me just jump in the streets and see how fun it is. And there were some nice promos out there. I had a little underdog promo. I had a little drafters promo. I have some money in my DK account. And, you know, it's a great multitasking thing. You're just kind of sitting around. And then I thought there were some edges, right? If you're paying attention, I started paying attention. It's like, I just feel like it made me sharper and prepared me for the NFL season. So I wanted to be prepared when I was talking on Sirius. And then it just sort of snowballed from there. And it's kind of, I don't want to say it's addicting, but it's just fun. Now, some people maybe that drafting since like 3 months ago might be burnout season for them, but now I'm just hitting my stride. I
always equate it to, I don't know if you ever saw Band of Brothers, but there's like a scene where the new soldiers are coming in and they're all excited to get to the war. And as they're walking down the road, the soldiers that have been there are walking away from the road and they're all like battle scarred and miserable and everything. And I always feel like at this point in the year, the guys that have been drafting for 4 months are are the ones that are walking back, while the people that are just jumping into this, because let's be honest, August is when people start drafting their actual draft. So they don't even think about fantasy football until August. So that has been changing. The other thing I found interesting that you brought up is the last 2 years, I have noticed, because I'm doing best ball, I feel more prepared for week one DFS than a lot of other people that are out there doing week one. So I think I'm not going to sit there and say that I've won contests in week one, because I haven't, but I've had some decent ROI on week one. And I feel like this has helped give me that edge. So I think that's a important thing to notate as well.
Yeah, I mean, the tricky part obviously is like what 80% of the news, and we use it news with air quotes, is like nonsense, and 20% is actually applicable and
Yeah.
something you can like apply and something that like that actually makes sense. And it's trying to figure out, like, sometimes it's good to be ignorant and not knowing that this happened because it turned out to go the other way. But sometimes it's good to know whatever the Philadelphia Eagles running back rotation may or may not be. But it's trying to figure out what is actually real, what is not real, is sort of a tricky science, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully my takes are good. Because as I always say, when week one hits with NFL DFS, probably this is not a DFS show, but the best time to be contrarian is week one, because everybody's had months to like, these are my takes. That's it. This guy's good. This guy's bad. This defense is good. This defense is, you don't know that. We think that, sure, but a lot of stuff we're going to be wrong about. A lot of stuff you're going to be right about. And it's fun. It's fun trying to figure out what is what.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit before the show, and you were asking me, like, should you be concerned about some of the teams that got drafted earlier in the season? And I kind of brought up to you the example of, well, there's some teams out there with Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, and um, Justin Jefferson, or something like that. So, like, you're never going to get that team. And if we're being completely honest, the majority of these tournaments are already like 65 to 75, 80% full. Theoretically, the winner's probably already been drafted, right?
Yeah.
But we're not 100% sure of that. I still think there's roster constructions that can be fine. I am interested to see if this comment that just came up is legitimate. Did Trey Lance get traded to Dallas, or are we getting trolled right now?
I don't know, but I'm curious. I'm
Well,
glad it's
now
not a running back to Dallas because I've heard rumors of that. But all right. I wonder what is the market for Trey Lance these days? Let's hit the Twitter machine and see if that's legit.
It is. Adam Schefter, compensation update. Cowboys are sending a 4th-round pick to the 49ers for Trey Lance.
The 4th rounder. And they gave up what, like 3 first-rounders for him? Is that what it was?
They went crazy for him. I still don't like results out the window. I didn't understand that trade that night. It always felt like they should have grabbed Mac Jones. It always felt like a much better Kyle Shanahan pick, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know what the point is. Isn't Dak extended? Like, I guess as the number 2, or just like just in case as the backup? Does he go right to the number 2 quarterback? Who's the number 2 quarterback in Dallas these days? I don't know who it is.
Yeah, I don't know who they're rocking out with for their number 2 QB. They did change the rules this year, so I think a lot of teams are going to be carrying 3 after what happened with the 49ers at the end of last year.
Yeah.
But which is interesting, since it's the 49ers trading their 3rd quarterback away after last season. But
Cooper Rush apparently was the number 2 for Dallas.
Okay.
Will Greer the number 3, according to the ESPN depth charts.
Yeah, so they'll be getting rid of one of those guys for sure. Well, that's an interesting tidbit. So I don't know. That's interesting. But do we want to dive into this tournament, and we will start talking a little bit more about best ball?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm curious. I have a couple of takes, just like as far as position at this time of year, as opposed to like months ago, right? Is there a certain draft number that you really don't like? Is there a certain number you really do like? Obviously, you can't will it either way, but I'm curious if something like tilts you or something gets you excited as far as I have this spot.
I don't like the 8-9 spot for sure. I think that's like my least favorite spot to be in. Of all the spots, it just feels like a dead zone. Oh, and by the way, because you're drafting with me, we're going to be drafting from the back, because I cannot stream a draft. We're drafting from the 12 spot, of course, which is fine.
I like the 12 spot.
I don't mind the 12 spot too much.
You got to reach a little bit, obviously, but I mean, yeah. I actually like the 7. I don't hate the 8. I think it's a bit of a break, 7 to 8, but somebody might fall to you. But that's interesting that you don't like the 8. Like, I don't like the 3-4, because the 3rd round, I'm like, I have no idea. The 3rd round guys are all the same. So
I
yeah,
I like the 3-4 because I do like the guys you get there. I do like taking Tyreek. I do like taking McCaffrey some. I do like taking Cooper Cup, but I like flipping the draft there sometimes as well. So I like pulling AJ Brown up to the 3 or the 4 spot occasionally, and I
interesting.
like pulling Amon-Ra St. Brown up because they've been going in the same spot of the draft all year. So in order to just flip a draft, if you pull Amon-Ra up to the 4 spot, like take him 4th overall, you already are starting to get yourself a different construction of Amon-Ra St. Brown teams than other people are going to have because he's been nestled in that back of the first round, early second round the entire offseason. So I think that pulling him up, and I'm not doing it often, right? Like it's not every time I get the 4, but occasionally I'll pull one of those guys up just to get some different teams, some different textures with those players.
That's an interesting strategy. Like at the 12 spot, we could theoretically get both, by the way, Amon Ra and AJ. It's possible, just kind of
Yeah,
the way things fall. And I think that's a beautiful way to start if you can make it work that way.
especially on DraftKings, right? Like that is definitely a possibility over here because things can get real wild on DraftKings sometimes. So we'll see how it lands for us. If I'm in the back, I do like the 12 spot because I like being able to do the double click and just get the 2 guys that I want. And it allows you to kind of like reach up a little bit because you know there's certain guys you're not going to be able to get when they come back. So I think from the 12 spot you can get some different constructions going as long as you're open to it.
So what are you thinking as far as the 12 spot? Like, do you just so I can throw a bunch of guys in your queue? I guess you have already presets, I imagine. But yeah, as far as ideally, well, what do you want at 12, 13?
Um I do a lot of different weird things there. I like to see what kind of shakes out in the first round before we do it. I don't mind doing like some sort of week 17 correlation right away from the 12 spot. I think it's done a lot, but if we wanted to do Amon Ra, Tony Pollard, I'm fine with. If we get Nick Chubb, Garrett Wilson, I'm fine with that. Or I'm fine with going a completely different direction. Kind of just like to see what falls out. The only person I would say that I don't want to take is I am very, very anti Devontae Adams this year. So you'll see from my exposure that I have 0 to 1% of him on all my teams right now.
I have very little Adams as well. If he kind of falls me at like 15 or 16, I'll take him, but I don't think I've taken him higher than that.
Mm.
I have Amon Ra and AJ both ahead of him pretty clearly. It's Garrett Wilson you mentioned. I don't think I've taken him yet. It's not that I don't like him. It's just that I think the Jets kind of want to run, and Rodgers goes really slow, and Wilson's really, really good, but I just think the love's gone too far. Similar to like Calvin Ridley, I think the love's gone too far. I think both those guys are getting a little bit overdrafted. But again, I like them both. But when we're comparing those guys against Amon Ra and
Mhm.
AJ Brown, sometimes even Cooper Cup if he tumbles a bit. So I don't think I have any of those guys. And
Wow, Cup
yeah,
went to the 10th here. This is
Ooh,
we saw Barkley get shot up to the 106. We're gonna be on the clock. We might actually get some sort of
there
we
goes
have AJ
Diggs,
Brown here. I don't see how we don't take AJ Brown.
100%.
Do you want to double tap both Browns, AJ Brown and Amon-Ra here?
That's a beautiful start. I would love that. Yeah, is that possible? We're going to get that. Well, who's
Yeah.
the third guy if we don't get?
We got both of them. We were on the clock. So we got Amon-Ra and AJ Brown.
That's a spectacular start. I love that start.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Who
We
went
saw Cup.
11? Did I miss 11?
CD went Lamb. I mean,
Okay.
CD went 11th. So interesting start to this draft already. I do like taking AJ Brown, Amon-Ra. I don't think it's done too often. So I'll definitely take that for sure.
Um,
My only pushback on the Garrett Wilson thing is even if the Jets if they're running something similar to they did with the Packers, they still fed Devontae Adams. And I think if there is a receiver on the Jets that's going to get fed, it would be Garrett Wilson.
yeah, I like him. It's not that you know how that works. It's like you have
Yeah,
to, who's your lead? It's not that I don't like him. It's I don't like where he's currently being drafted, right?
that's my CD Lamb, right? I like CD Lamb. I don't think CD Lamb is a end of first round, early second round pick. I think he's a late second. So I totally understand your point.
What about now that they got Trey Lance though? Does that change things for you?
Yeah, it makes me hate the Cowboys even more. I can't stand Trey Lance. Hate the Cowboys. I hate Trey Lance. Um, yeah, I just, CD Lamb, he just always nestles in this same spot, and he's good, not great, And he's a weird player because he never falls and he never gets taken early. So
He's
he
always taken around like 11.
always taken around 11, 12, or 2-1, 2-2. Like it's those 4 spots you see CeeDee Lamb go. It's
Has Pollard not? Yeah, I love Pollard in this spot. And like, see, here's the thing: I wasn't drafting, like you said, we talked about. I didn't start drafting until a bit ago. He's slowly crept up, but like that was one of the first things that jumped out to me. Like, Pollard's going like 20. Like, I did not understand. I didn't understand that. Like, why is he not going 10, maybe 11, maybe 12? Why is he not back in first, very, very, very front of the second round? Just, that backfield, I assume, is going to be his. I know there's rumors of Zeke coming back at some point. That's obviously not happening. Maybe they signed somebody else, but it seems pretty clear he's the guy, and we see when he's the guy, he's awesome. I just thought it was a little strange how low he was.
I think he is the best pick on the board. I was on with Overset earlier today. We were kind of talking through it, and I have the most Patrick Mahomes from the second round, especially on DK, because I think quarterbacks are a little more valuable on DK than all the other sites. But I think the best pick on the board is generally Tony Pollard because of everything you just said. I think he's mispriced. I think he's supposed to be a first rounder. And for whatever reason, people were scared off, maybe because of the Zeke thing. But once that got cleared up, he just didn't move. So he's staying in the same spot. And I'm trying to grab as much Pollard as I can right now as well.
You mentioned Mahomes. Do you have Mahomes clearly ahead of, or just he just kind of falls as far as like Allen, as far as Hurts? Do you have like a pecking order? It's kind of in its own tier. And I think Lamar, I've been taking a ton of Lamar in the third round because the third round, like most of the time, just kind of like, I don't know what to do. I don't think anybody separates themselves amongst the next 10. So just give me a really good quarterback. And sometimes, every once in a while, you get lucky and pair him with Andrews, which is a lot of fun. But I think Lamar's got a chance to crack the top 3. They're supposed to pass the ball more this year. His weapons have never been better, assuming they stay healthy. But you have Mahomes. Is there clear number 1? Or you like the fact that maybe you got Kelsey and Mahomes? It's a fun pairing.
Well, I don't take Kelsey is the funny thing. I don't draft Travis Kelsey hardly at all. Like not as a rule.
Okay.
I don't like going elite QB, elite tight end early. I think it craters the rest of your expected value of your team, kind of. So I like to lean elite quarterback, but specifically on DraftKings, I have Mahomes a tier above everybody because of the bonus points that you're getting. Right?
Okay.
You gotta remember that every 300 yards that a quarterback throws on DraftKings, you're getting an extra 3 points. Last year, Mahomes did it 10 times. The next closest quarterback did it 5 times. So you're already separating from the field based on yardage thrown, and you're also separating from the field on bonus points. He's giving you an extra usable week over the next best quarterback, theoretically. Now, Hurts can make up for it with rushing, so can Lamar, so can Allen. But consistently, I just think Mahomes is, on DK, a better pick. I think everyone's kind of like almost even keel on the other sides, but DraftKings specifically, I like Mahomes better.
Let's talk our pick, but I do want to push back. I'm curious, and again, I'm staying in my lane. You're the best ball guy, but I'm somebody that like is not. I'm sort of on the outskirts, but I have a thought. So your thought of like going, dominant quarterback, dominant tight end. I have a counter that I think might be worth considering. But who are we talking about drafting here? We're 3 up.
So we are
Q.
So we're looking. We got Mark Andrews on board. We got Debo here. We got Ramondre Stevenson. If we like other running backs, we got ETN, Joe Mixon. So there's quite a few different guys that we can do here.
You got Jacobs or Ramondre? Who do you prefer now?
I don't take Josh Jacobs.
Just you don't like the. I mean, he's obviously back in camp. Too many miles from last year, like 400 touches, whatever it was, something goofy.
I just don't like the Raiders as a rule right now. Do you like Debo? Do you like Stevenson?
I like Stevenson.
I do too. I like Stevenson. Let's grab Stevenson.
Yeah. I like when I can get him like a few picks later than Jacobs because I think Jacobs is going ahead of him right now. But yeah. Debo's spot. This is where it's tricky. I don't think what's the difference between Debo and Metcalf? I do not draft Hopkins. I've yet to draft Hopkins. I'm not a believer.
I think Debo in the 4th round here is a hell of a pick for us. So I think that's the way we should go with this one. So yeah, let's grab Debo. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. This team is fun. So the team right now is AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ramondre Stevenson, and Debo Samuel. What is your thought on elite tight end?
there any more Browns we can draft? Just kind of keep Marquise, Chase, Noah, and keep it the theme. I don't really like Marquise Brown actually. So my thought is this is more so on underdog where I think 18 picks is kind of restricting. I don't know if that's a hot take. I don't know if other people feel kind of the same way. It's the 7-minute abs and 8-minute abs. I think we need one more ab. I want one more ab. Give me a 19th round because underdog it's tough. It's really, really hard to like because you got to make choices, some tough choices. But my counter is on underdog, if you draft elite quarterback, if you draft elite tight end, and I've heard, I think you say it or Eric say it, or a lot of people say it, draft like you're right, assuming that's right.
Mm-hmm.
You have a couple extra bullets to get some flyers as far as receiver, as far as running back that can rise. And you don't necessarily have to have 3 tight ends or 3 quarterbacks. You can have 2. You could theoretically have 1 if that's what you want to do. So that is my counter is that the additional perk of going out and drafting Kelsey and drafting Mahomes is you get a couple extra bullets and assume you're going to be right. Is that worth enough? I don't know, but I think that's worth something.
Yeah, I mean it's not that I'm not doing it at all. So when I do those teams, clearly that's how I'm drafting them, right? I'm not usually going with a third tight end or definitely not a third quarterback with an elite quarterback build. The opportunity cost is if we just look at this third round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus the first 2 rounds, who has like the upside of some of these other players that are up here? Like I love Ramondre. I'm glad we have him, but Ramondre's upside does not compare to McCaffrey, Eckler, Barkley, Pollard, hell, even Henry, right? So it's opportunity cost is what we're talking about here. Like, what are you giving up to get Kelsey? What are you giving up to give that Kelsey Mahomes pairing? Should you be doing it some? I believe you should be. I just don't think you should make a rule of doing it consistently, is what I would say.
But just again, I know Kelsey's going to be 34, 35, at some point in the middle of the season. At some point he's got to slow down, but just the volatility at tight end. How you're going to have tight end guys that are going to give you like 1 catch for 5 yards and that's it. And Kelsey's going to have his bad weeks, but there's something to be said for, if 7 for 7 he doesn't get in the box, that's not great, but that's at least just the way he separates 1 to 2. I know Andrews can jump up. We'll see. Hawkinson, if you extrapolate last year's numbers, he'll be spectacular. But and Waller, like if all the notes you hear about camp, and let me ask you this, I'm curious. I bet Waller's probably jumped from like the 9th or 10th round, and now he's getting drafted in the 5th round. I saw him go in the 4th round yesterday. People are losing their minds over.
He went in the 4th round in this draft. He went 410 here.
Yeah, they're losing their minds over Darren Waller, and he's also like sneaky old. Waller's sneaky old.
Yeah,
30, 31?
I'm not overly into I wasn't into the Waller thing earlier in the year, which would have been the time to draft him. So I'm certainly not going to be into him when he's starting to go in the 4th round here. Again, we're talking a lot of capital for a tight end. I mean, this guy did it pretty fun. He did get McCaffrey, Waddle. He got Mahomes in the 3rd, which is not something you normally do on DK. Then he gets Waller in the 4th and goes George Pickens. So it's a bit of a fun start, but it's just not easy to do. And Waller in the 4th, especially when he was going in the 10th, I try not to be the guy that's like, well, I was getting him in the 10th round, so I can't draft him in the 4th all the time. But that one particularly feels very painful because of how long he was going later. And it's just now he's shooting up in the last week or 2. So I'm bypassing Waller for the most part. It could bite me. It could kill me, but that might be some bitterness from missing out on him at cheaper prices earlier in the year as well.
In tight end, just as a general thought, like if you're not going all the way up top, like it feels like this year, I hear people are saying that this is one of the best, rookie tight end classes. There's many darts available. You can just get yourself 2 or 3. I like to get 3 if I don't like one really good one. I like to get 3, cheap tight ends amongst, Hurst and Conklin and Otten, those kind of guys, right?
Trey McBride, all those guys down at the back end. I do 3 on DraftKings or Drafters. I might do 4 occasionally with the 20.
Yeah,
with the 20 rounds. Underdog, I can't see doing more than 3. There's a big debate about that going on right now. Like,
I agree.
There are some guys that are going 4, like further with their last 4 picks. I mean, to each their own. I usually would rather have that extra running back or wide receiver, preferably. We are about to be back on the clock here. Is there anyone jumping out to you on the board?
Is James Cook available? I love me some James Cook.
We can do James Cook. I only have 2%, as you can see here. I do tend to fade him, but I'm not
He's been jumping
against
up the
it.
boards too.
Can I interest you in J.K. Dobbins as well?
I mean, this is your team. I do not. I'm not on Dobbins. He's fine, I guess.
You're not on Dobbins?
No, I'm just not on it. I think I have basically 0 Dobbins.
Oh, you sell me on James Cook, and then I will sell you on
he's
J.K.
attached to one of the
Dobbins.
best offenses in football, and there's a real chance he's a 3-down running back. Now, there's a chance, I suppose, he gets siphoned at the goal line like the ghost of Latavius Murray. There's a chance that Allen could just could just run it in, but there's a real shot that James Cook is the dominant running back in one of the best offenses in football. And I know it's been adjusting, but and there's some draft capital there, right? He's legit talented. I know running backs don't matter, yada yada. By the way, I have 32 drafts on Underdog, and I have 53% James Cook. So
oh boy,
I hope I'm right.
we are on opposite ends of the spectrum with him. But I could
That's
say,
so fun.
Well, first, let me give you some trivia. I want to see if you know this.
Okay.
Do you know what James Cook's middle name is?
Always.
Always?
James always cooks. I don't know. But we have the Browns, which I love Brandon Cooks as well. Getting all the names. No, what is his official nickname? No, middle name.
His middle name. So James Cook's middle name is Dalvin. He is James Dalvin Cook, and
What?
Dalvin's middle name is Dalvin James Cook.
No, how does it? What? I need the backstory on that.
They're brothers.
To know why? Why
They're
know
brothers,
that?
But that's what their parents decided to do. They named them. They went and named them James Dalvin Cook and Dalvin James Cook.
Okay, I mean,
that's the thing.
You have a child. You have a right to name your child whatever you want. I just don't get it. Is that like an homage to a grandparent or something like that?
I'm not sure. It blew my mind the first time that I heard it. I'm like, what? I've never heard of anyone else doing that. Now, every woman in my family's middle name is Marie, for the most part, which is a whole different thing. But
is that an homage to somebody?
Dude, I think just in New England, every woman's middle name is Marie, from what I've understood.
Per capita,
yeah, it's just a thing up here for some reason. But yeah, going with brothers' names inverse like that, I've never heard anyone else do that. So it's a fun fact that has stood out for me.
I'm not going to forget that. That is a fact, and it's fun. Objectively, it's fun.
It is a fun one. So J.K. Dobbins, I can say literally everything you said for James Cook. He's also attached to one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best offenses in the league. He looked explosive at the end of the year last year. I don't think he's hurt. I think a lot of the holdout stuff wasn't injury related. I think it was contract related. And I think he's going to get the majority of the workload here in Baltimore. So I think he is mispriced in the 6th round on DK. I think he's mispriced on every site right now. So I've been grabbing a ton of J.K. Dobbins.
My counter is I think Lamar's more more of a better chance to siphon touchdowns than Allen does from Cooks, and then they just don't throw the ball to Dobbins. But you're right, as far as his rushes per carry, yards per carry, he looks spectacular, and he was playing injured, right, or playing through something, or coming back from injury, and he's still super young. Obviously, still just 24 years old. There's some draft equity. He's fine. I probably don't have him as high as I should. But I just been taking Cooks over him, obviously. James Cook.
Yeah, I've been so the Cook position is something I've been trying to reevaluate the last few days. I might be too low on Cook. I might need to grab a little bit more with some of the final teams that I draft. So I'm glad that we did get him here. So our team, as constructed right now, is AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ramondre Stevenson, Deebo Samuel, James Cook, J.K. Dobbins, 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. We have decided to Jared Goff just went off the board in the 7th round. Threw me for an absolute
that seems early.
That's a bit early, but I mean, we're on DK. We're having fun.
Who reaches for Jared Goff? Who loves Jared Goff? The Goffs are like, that was too early.
Yeah, even Jared Goff's like, I'm not drafting myself there.
Like if you want to reach on Richardson, if you want to, okay, you could sell me on Richardson like running for 150 yards and having put these big scores, even though it might look ugly. But what is like and without even having Brown, that's just so odd. But all right. What are your thoughts as far as quarterback around here? I like getting Herbert if I can get to him. Obviously, I assume he's gone.
Yeah,
I think Richardson's a really interesting flyer. I like Daniel Jones around here too. But if I don't get to that, like I'll tell you, as far as my ownership stuff,
Do you like Watson real quick? We have 15 seconds.
I'm not really on Watson, but this is your team. He's
Do you
fine,
want,
but
we could stack Brandon Cooks with Dak Prescott right now.
yeah, I don't think we go to quarterback here. But you're looking at the
I have no time now. I have no time. So we went Daniel Jones, which we can back stack, which is fine.
Howell is the other guy. Sam Howell, I got 37% of, and he's so easy to stack with Samuel. If you want to stack him with somebody else, you can. What's that?
Do you like Quentin Johnson, Khalil Herbert, Cortland Sutton, any of these guys here?
Oh, Sutton. I think Sutton's going too low still. And, obviously the situation, the injuries have opened up there in Denver, and I don't think it's fully adjusted just yet. With Judy being hurt.
As you can see, I have 18% Cortland Sutton right now.
Love it.
If you look at the thing, just to point out what we have showing on the screen for everyone that's looking, if anyone hasn't seen the show before, my first percentage here is my overall ownership of the player. And then the next 3 percentages are my combo ownership with my first, second, and third round pick. So like for instance, let's look at Brandon Cooks here. I have 5% Brandon Cooks. Of that 5%, 12% of the time I take him with AJ Brown, 17% of the time I take him with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then 6% of the time I take him with Ramondre Stevenson. So that's what those are. And if you're looking at the teams here, these are their week 15, 16, and 17 opponents. If it lights up in green, that means there is a correlation with that game. And if it lights up in if it lights up in purple, there is some sort of correlation with the quarterback in that game.
Look at you with your fancy Spike Week tools.
Yeah. We like to have some tools to make it a little bit easier to draft for everybody.
I'm watching on delay. I realize that's a mistake. I just realized I should move the board to my big screen, to my side monitor, so I can see it better because I'm squinting the entire time.
Ah, yes, that would probably be the play.
Yeah. By the way, where are you at on oh God, I'm forgetting his name now. We're talking about Dobbins, we're talking about Cooks, the Houston running back in that conversation, because like it's not the greatest offense. Yeah. So like because he might legitimately be if you're buying into the notes and the preseason and like he's playing every single down, he might legit be like a workhorse, which is not really a thing for most teams these days in 2023. Where is he in the conversation for you? Because obviously not attached to the greatest offense, but opportunity is very important as well.
Yeah, and he's going in the 6th round area. Like we see him go in the 6th round in this draft here. So I'm trying to mix him in. I don't want to be like insanely overweight on him. Trust me, I am the overweight guy where I will, if I really like somebody, I will get 20 to 30% of them if I think it's a good value. I like Pierce. I'll be happy to be slightly overweight on him. Like if I can get to 10 or 12% across my entire portfolio, I'd be very happy with that. I don't want to be at 20, but I also don't want to be at 6. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to, 8% for those that aren't aware, 8% is the average for a player. I also got to take us off auto draft real quick before that's a problem.
I think we're crushing this draft, by the way. I really like our team so far.
Yeah, our team's pretty good. We waited on quarterback. We got Daniel Jones. We can still get another quarterback. We do see the guy that went Barkley early went with Jalen Hurts, D-Hop, Christian Kirk, Chris Godwin, George Kittle, and then he double tapped Goff and Cousins. So when you see something like that, you need to be aware of the quarterback room because he's already taken an elite quarterback with 2 other quarterbacks.
He should be done in theory.
He should have been done with Jared Goff in theory. So
that's right. It's a Goff. Yeah. What a weird, that guy's got a goofy, something weird going. You can mark people in poker when you're playing in poker. You're going to kind of note. You can't do that with people you're drafting with here, as far as I know, but that would be a useful option, I think.
It would be useful, but as you can see, when this stuff happens, especially on DK where quarterbacks are already pushed up the board, you can start to see like people are starting to panic a little bit, and now they're starting to get other quarterbacks and starting to get their second quarterback because they're worried that other people aren't going to let them get that position. So it's something we need to be aware of. I'm not saying we need to take a quarterback right now. I'm
If
just saying we
Richardson's
need to keep
available,
our
would you
eye
take
on it.
him? I think Richardson's because I think there's a drop after him. I can't see the quarterbacks available, but in my head, I feel like he's the last best good quarterback.
He's gone. He's not on the
Okay,
board,
I
so
missed
he's
it.
been taken.
I like Geno a little bit, but I don't think you have to take Geno.
I don't think we have any stacks with Geno, so that would be
No.
why I wouldn't want to take him. Personally, I like to, yeah. So Richardson just went. That's why he wasn't on the board. He went the pick before here. So,
Okay.
um,
Yeah, I'm watching it on YouTube, so I'm like 20 seconds behind. Who
we
we
are going to
taking
be.
then? Who we looking at?
So I think the last really good wide receiver here is Rashad Bateman. We've already made a bet on Baltimore, so I wouldn't hate taking Bateman here at all. We could also
Okay.
take Sky Moore. I like Sky Moore as well. If you like any of them.
Yeah, these guys are fine. I usually don't take Bateman unless I have Lamar. I usually don't take Moore unless I have Mahomes, but they're fine.
All right. Do you have a
We can
preference?
make a no, not really. This is where I hate round 10. This is this is a terrible round. This is where I usually take like Perrine and Jalen Warren, like something like that, or Charbonnet,
Gotcha.
who just went. This is where I usually load up on some like running backs that theoretically have a shot to elevate.
Do you have any interest in Fryermuth as a tight end?
I like him. I think he's the best one available. He's kind of in his own tier. I distinctly like him more than Njoku. You can pair Fryermuth pretty easily with his quarterback as well. If you want like a flyer like Allen Robinson, you can pair him with Jalen Warren. I don't hate that idea if you want to build that out. Green Bay is another cheap stack too. I saw the Green Bay quarterback was available. Still some Green Bay pieces around. And I mentioned before that Sam Howell and Curtis Samuel is like a real popular like cheap stack. I've been getting a lot of, round 15, round 17 stuff, depending on when I grab Howell.
Yeah, Sam Howell is definitely someone that I've been grabbing a lot of as well. Someone saying they don't know if it's waiting on QB when you go Daniel Jones early off ADP. It is on DK, especially in a draft room like this, because we could kind of see it already setting up, right?
Yeah.
Like when it's situational awareness. And when you see how the room's starting to draft, so me and Pete actually dealt with this earlier today in a $500 entry where quarterbacks got pushed up the board as well. And you just need to be situationally aware of what's going on, because you don't want to be boxed out at the position, but you also don't want to overreach. I don't think that we overreached on Daniel Jones at 7-12 in this particular draft. I mean, we're also on the end, so we wouldn't have got him on the comeback. We clearly wouldn't have got him. We see Watson go. We see Cousins go. And we also see Tua, Rodgers, Prescott, Richardson go. We were never getting Daniel Jones on the comeback.
No.
So that's the stuff you need to be aware of. And that's
I like him more than
don't
Cousins, by the way. Like, I see Cousins went after him. I prefer him more than Cousins. I know Goff went right before him, but that was kind of goofy, especially when the guy has Hurts.
Yeah.
That's just some weird selections over there. Yeah. Trying to see who we're setting up.
Going the 10th here. So
who are we looking at the next? So we have one quarterback, 3 running backs, 5 receivers, 1 tight end. Fryermuth's our tight end. Are we thinking about getting a Pittsburgh quarterback at some point? Is that in our back pocket as like an option?
I think that's going to be something to definitely discuss very soon.
Yeah.
I don't want to tip our hand too much, but I think there are quarterback options on our next 2 picks here that we could go with. And
for fear that people are watching, is that what you're saying? You don't want to tip our hand because somebody might be like sniping us and watching the show at the same time?
Oh, it happens all the time. You have to be very, very strategic on these streams, Dean. And
should we swerve him? Well, let's tell him that we love. Who's spectacular? I think we should just without
Alan
question.
Lazard.
Yeah,
you have to draft Alan Lazard.
This is the year Jimmy G puts it all together.
He came over with Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, so clearly they want him to be the one-on-one of wide receivers with the Jets. So you need to be drafting Alan Lazard.
That's the move.
And they drafted Alan Lazard. It worked. Look at that.
That's spectacular. What's up, Hospets? Welcome. Hope you're enjoying it. We got you. You just heard it now. That was the old swerve. We turned heel on you.
Russell Wilson is actually a guy I was going to bring up for our next pick. I thought that would have been a good pairing with Cortland Sutton.
Are you a
So
believer in Russ? Or it's just like because I'm torn on it. Like you can get him pretty cheap, so I get it. But do you feel good about it?
I'm a believer that Sean Payton can make it look better than it looked last year.
Okay.
So
I mean,
I'm not saying
last year. It has to. Like anybody, theoretically.
it has to. But
Yeah.
if they have wide receivers by the start of the season, they're all getting hurt. Judy's down now. They lost Tim Patrick. They lost what's his name as well. Like they're
AJ,
down to Sutton
somebody,
and Mims.
Is it AJ? Some initials.
Hamlin.
Yeah,
Is who I'm talking about.
Is it too early to reach for Mims? We're kind of on the end. You're speaking of Denver receivers, and I like Mims, but it's probably too early, isn't it? Do we get him on the way back if you like him?
We might be able to get him on the way back. There's a few things I like on the board right now that I think we can do that I'm looking at here.
I love Jalen Warren here. I made that pretty clear. I'm a believer that like there's a decent chance he's probably going to start the season like I don't know 25, 30, 35% of that RB stuff, but I think he elevates as the season progresses. Also, he's another piece to have if we're going to build a Pittsburgh set.
I thought we were going to somehow pick 132 Rashad Bateman.
I saw he was still around. Yeah, that was too good.
Blew my mind. I just couldn't believe it. I like Warren here. I'm fine with taking Warren if that's one of the two picks you want to make.
I love it. Yeah. At 133, especially, I think it's a great spot. On the end to get Warren.
I'm also fine with taking Njoku here. I know he's not one of my favorite picks, but at pick 133, he usually goes at 108. It's a bring back to Garrett Wilson. I'm fine with taking Njoku. I don't know how you feel about it.
Wait, we have Garrett Wilson?
Oh, we didn't take Garrett Wilson. We took him on
Garrett Wilson.
Sorry, my brain's all over the place right
now.
No worries.
We don't. I don't. My issue with the Njoku, he's fine, right? What's the difference between Njoku and like Juwan Johnson and Jake Ferguson and Luke Musgrove? Is it huge? I don't think so.
I don't think it's big. I just think it's roster construction where we've gotten him. I'm not a big ADP guy, but when you're getting a guy 2 rounds past where he goes, you're starting to get your team a little bit more unique at that point in this range. If it was 1 round, I probably wouldn't have cared as much. But 2 rounds like that, it's just like, to me, it's a big thing. So I kind of love that. I kind of love getting Njoku, Freiermuth, because I don't think a lot of people are going to have them. And we got to sandwich Warren in between the two of them. So
you're doing this next level thinking of, galaxy branding, if you will. I don't mean that like in a negative sense. I know people use it that way. Of like, you're thinking about the entirety of the lineup, like kind of a DFS thought as well. And like, you're right. This is probably like a combination that's not terribly popular. And my thought is like, I get that it's a value play. I think he's kind of getting overdrafted. It's just my thought.
I agree. I only have 4% of them.
Okay.
So that's why, like, if he's getting overdrafted and you have 4% of them, when he drops 2 rounds, like, which is a massive drop, right? Like 2 rounds is big at this point.
Sure.
So that's where it matters. When people say they got value on a guy and he fell 4 picks past where he normally goes, to me, like, that's just being absurd. Like, what are we doing here? That's 4 picks. But when we're talking 24 picks, we're talking 25 picks. He was 25 picks past where he normally goes. That is an outlier. So I think like if you can find outliers, it makes more sense.
MVS and did Rice go yet or no? I was curious. Yeah, Rice and MVS have gone. You're talking about picking a bunch of Mahomes. Do you have like a clear, this is the guy I prefer? Who do you take when like you know you're only going to get one of those two? Who do you lean on?
I like MVS and a vacuum versus the 2 of them. I get the 2 of them a lot. I usually double stack Mahomes with the 2 of them. I throw in some Kadarius Toney still as well. My most owned players, I think, are Jalen Warren, Mahomes, MVS, and Rashee Rice.
I have 43% MVS.
43%?
He's the guy I always take. He's like right there, and like he's fine. He probably doesn't kill you. He's going to get 6 or 7 targets every week from the best quarterback in football, and maybe he falls in the end zone. And what else do you want at that spot? And he's just so late, you can get him. There goes Mahomes.
And you're getting him in the 12th round. To your point, you get 3 usable weeks out of him, you're fine. And that's who he is as a player. You have to understand the player that you're drafting. And as you know, that's why in DFS he's a gigantic spike week boomer bust play, right? Like you know what you're getting with MVS. You're either getting 4 points or you're getting 21, right? So
Are we in
that's
need of
why
a
you dart
second
throw.
quarterback? I just saw Purdy go, which I'm not really on Purdy, and Pickett. I think Pickett's fine. What's our quarterback pool look like? Who's left in the quarterback board?
So we're seeing Stafford, Howell, Kyler Murray, Bryce Young, and Jimmy Garoppolo, CJ Stroud, Mac Jones.
I think we
So
need a quarterback here.
we still have options here. I think we're gonna be okay. But
I've not
yes.
drafted Murray yet. I think there's a real chance. I know there was a report that said they have every intention to play Murray this season. I don't totally buy that. I wouldn't be shocked if he plays 0 downs this year, especially if they start out slow. Have you drafted Kyle Murray? Do you have a take on Murray?
I also saw a little report float out there that they are not planning on playing him at all. Now,
okay,
that
conflicting reports. Yeah,
but those are leaked quote unquote reports. Dude, he blew his ACL out. Even if he plays, are we getting the normal Kyler Murray? Like a lot of his upside comes with running as well.
yeah.
Do you think that Kyler Murray is going to run? To me, the Cardinals have told you they're not going to compete this year. That everything they're doing with their roster tells you they're building for the future.
They just traded an O-lineman a couple days ago.
Yeah, like they're just getting rid of players. They're building up picks. They're playing for the future. I think they're tanking. We are on auto draft. We need to get off of that.
It's a dead pick. Like I don't understand. Like I understand like the name. Like oh my god, I can get Kyle Murray in the 14th round, or whatever it is. It just seems like you're throwing a pick away to me.
Well, it's because everyone knows what the upside is. Like if Kyler Murray comes out and plays like Kyler Murray, 14th round Kyler Murray breaks tournaments. I just think I'm in agreement with you that that's a 1% outcome, maybe.
You got to tell yourself a story. You really got to tell yourself a story.
You got to tell yourself a story that they're gonna be good. Dude, I just don't see it. I'm with you. I just do not see it at all. So
we're coming up here, by the way. I'm sure you're on top of it. But what are we thinking here? What's our options? Are we still not getting a quarterback? We're not feeling a little panicky?
We're not panicking, but I think that we are going to grab a quarterback here. I think we grab Sam Howell, if you're cool with that.
Of course. Love Sam Howell.
I think so. Right now, our construction is 1-4-5-2. I think that with grabbing Daniel Jones, the other thing we need to be doing right here is grabbing Jalen Hyatt. Get our stack with him. So I think Howell, Hyatt are our 2 picks here, as long as you're cool with that.
I love it. Yeah. I would just like throw Samuel and Slayton like in the queue just to like remind myself that they're there. But maybe you don't like throwing guys in the queue because people are watching.
Because we're on stream.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Nobody take those guys. You hear that, Hoss bets?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But what is your preferred structure? And I know it matters if you have like an elite quarterback, elite tight end, but ideally on DK, 20 players, how do you like the breakdown?
I like to do 2 quarterbacks with an elite quarterback. So probably 2-7-8-3 generally, or 2-6-9-3, something like that.
Yeah, I have a hard time getting 7 RBs. Just that it falls off pretty quickly. But yeah, 2-7-9-3.
Yeah, I mean, I can do 6. I usually probably do 6 running backs more than anything. Is what I would say. But there are some dart throw running backs that I like in the 19th and 20th round. Those have kind of gotten pushed up a little bit, but there's still a few guys here and there that we can take flyers on that I think are good value. One of them actually happens to be on the Arizona Cardinals. I like to take Keontae Ingram in the 19th or 20th round sometimes for all the reasons that we said about Arizona.
Yeah.
Right? We think that they're going to tank, which makes me believe that they're probably going to shut James Conner down at some point. If he even has like a hang nail.
Protect though, like are they committed to him for a long term? I would imagine they aren't. I don't know their contract situation.
I can't.
Do they care if they run him to the ground?
No, I don't think they care that they run him to the ground. But I think this is like one of those years you try to get some run out of your backups and see what you actually have in them. So I think at some point you might see some more Keontae Ingram than James Conner. I'm not drafting James Conner at all, but I
think I might have one share. I haven't taken him. Mike, you taking like Michael Wilson in the 19th or 20th? Is he one of those guys in the flyer pool for you?
I'll take a flyer on him, but he's getting pushed up the draft boards already. So I've been seeing Michael Wilson go in the 16th round quite a bit lately.
That seems too high. Oh, somebody stole Samuel. Was that
Yeah.
Hospets? Who took him?
That
Somebody close to
was
Hospets at least.
Dibbly Doo, of course.
Dibbly Doo. You can never trust Dibbly Doo.
Classic Dibbly Doo is what I would
It's
say.
classic. There's one thing I know about Dibbly Doo. Notorious for
stealing Curtis Samuel in the 14th round.
It's not cool.
Now we have some other stuff we can do with Washington though that I'm confident we can get later.
Oh, I know who it is. I know because at least are you and Eric in agreement on this? Because I feel like I heard Eric throw this guy's name out there, and yeah, I don't want to say it just yet. But I guess we'll talk about it. But in case Dibbly Doo is listening,
Dibbly Doo is going to grab him right now.
Dibbly Doo.
No, I'm in agreement in the aspect that like I'll take flyers. I'm not trying to get overweight on that player or anything like that. But
yeah,
you know, it's a flyer, it's a stack. I take a lot of Sam Howell. So that is why I will have a little bit more of, I'll just say Cole Turner, because why not? Who cares?
So who's sitting in Cole Turner? Is he in the clear path or is he kind of behind Logan Thomas? I don't really know that situation.
So Logan Thomas has been hurt most of the offseason. So it's kind of unclear if they're just, from what it seems like, Logan Thomas is hurt. Logan Thomas might just be dust. So we're hoping Cole Turner sees the field. Nothing's guaranteed, and that's why we're drafting Cole Turner in the 18th, 19th, and 20th round. Right?
Yeah, just throwing a dart. Yep. I think I saw Eric draft. I want to say he posted on Twitter. I haven't done this just yet. I like the concept, and I know we're on DK, but Underdog, the weekly winners. Like I think he had, was it Howell and Turner, and then just a bunch of darts at running back and receiver. And like, I love the thought process. Like you only want to win 1 week. If you win 1 week, if you somehow fall into the Howell Turner week, like you're in the money. that somehow happens.
Yeah, if you're looking to absolutely burn, $15, draft the solo Sam Howell Cole Turner team.
Well, I mean, you got to respect the thought process, right? I appreciate it. It's a different angle, and like
we are on the clock. I like Jeff Wilson a ton here with the ambiguity in that backfield.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess, right? A-Chain was carted off, and we don't know the story. I think it was a shoulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reporting, who really knows if he's going to be good to go? It's going to be kind of a mess there in Miami. But as a flyer, I don't hate it.
This is where it gets a little bit tricky.
Tank Dell, guy I've kind of fallen into. Shaheed, I like. I see you scrolling down.
You like Tank Dell? We can do Tank Dell.
I think it's fine. What's the backstory on that? Like, why is he's like 112 pounds and his name's Tank? Is that an irony thing? We can call a fat guy tiny? Like, what's the story? What's the deal? What's the backstory on? You have a fun fact on Tank Dell?
I do not have a fun name fact on Tank Dell, unfortunately.
Okay.
I can tell you that when I was at the World Series of Poker, I sat with Ryan Garcia, who fought Tank. What's his name? Who's the guy who just fought? Not Tank Abbott.
Oh, okay. No. I don't know how old this Garcia guy is.
Devontae Davis. Devontae Davis. They're boxers. So
okay.
I sat with Ryan Garcia. He had just fought Tank Davis, and
you a boxing guy?
Not really, but I had actually watched that fight, which is funny. And then I was in the World Series, and Ryan Garcia sat at my table.
How was he as a player?
He was actually pretty good. He wasn't bad. He was shocked at how long the tournament was going to be, though. He was like, when he asked, he's like,
it could be really short if you wanted to be.
Yeah, I think once he found out that it was going to be another 7 days, I saw him out about 3 hours later, and I'm like, I wonder if he did that on purpose.
He's pushing. I got 10s. Let's go. Let's push on.
Yeah.
Give me. You have an anecdote, like a favorite anecdote? What story? Like most interesting thing? This is always like a bucket list for a lot of people. Obviously, it's spectacular that you got to live it out. Not just live it out, but had an awesome finish. What's like your favorite, like fun little anecdotes that you can think of off the dome? I'm sure maybe you're tired of talking about it. I don't know if you are. I probably wouldn't be tired about talking about it if I made a bunch of money off of it. I'm just curious because I've never done it before, but theoretically, one day it would be fun.
My favorite thing about the tournament, selfishly, is that I was never all in until day 5. I was never at risk until the 5th day of the tournament.
That's impressive.
Which is just, I wouldn't have been able to dream that scenario up, right? That's just insanity to me that I was not at risk. I finished my day 1 13th in chips or something like that. out of the
Wow.
thousands of people that started. But the most fun hand that I saw, I wasn't a part of. Right after the money bubble burst, we had this crazy hand breakout where one guy raised, the next guy re-raised, the next guy re-raised, and then it started going all in, everything all pre-flop. By the time they turned the cards over, it was kings versus aces,
Oh wow.
which was interesting to see.
Amazing.
So that was a
And
lot
then
of
straight hit the board. King,
that,
kings,
oh
kings
my
chopped
god,
it.
can you imagine? I'd vomit. I have vomited over poker one time in my life. I would vomit over that if I lost that way.
Well, I mean, the
So
obvious follow-up question is, what was that one scenario that made you vomit?
years ago, I had a chance to play in the main event. I was playing a satellite, and we were down to 8 people, and I think 5 people were gonna get in to the main event,
Okay.
something like that. And I got in a situation where I had to double up in order to stay alive, but so did the guy on my right. It was blind versus blind.
Yeah.
He shoved. I looked down at ace queen suited. I
Gotta feel
snap
good.
called. He turned over ace 8. I turned over ace queen, and the flop rolled 2 eights, and I got knocked out of the tournament that way. And I literally went home and vomited on my yard. It
So you had the
was
decency not to vomit at the table. You're a respectable
Oh, I was
gentleman.
in the middle of about to fight the guy because he was yelling how much he deserved it. And that is also one of the only times I almost fought in a poker tournament.
Why did he
So,
deserve? Like, what? Why would he deserve it? Like, poker's
um,
a cruel game, but like, he doesn't deserve to win.
that was kind of what I was yelling back to him with a bunch of other unkind words.
I deserved it.
Yeah.
8 was due.
Yeah. It for some reason it went up my ass sideways. So we got into it a little bit, but
Yeah.
is what it is.
What are we thinking here on the?
It would not have to be a flush love stars. It would not have to be
17.
a flush. It could be a straight because it would be 9-10 jack queen, and then the kings would get the thing. So both of the kings could split the hand and knock the aces out.
I was going to ask what your well, let's figure out what we're doing here as far as these last 2 picks, or I guess the first of 2, the pairings, 17 and 18, 19 and 20. What's the process here? Another tight end?
I mean, we do want another tight end, but I think we can maybe push tight end one more round. I think we probably
Correlation?
want to take one more quarterback. I think that Daniel Jones isn't strong enough to do 2 QBs with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but what's left? It's some scraps, right?
It's Mac Jones, but we have Ramondre, so we do have some correlation there.
Yeah,
and we can see what we have for wide receivers.
He's all that's left. He's the last starter. Oh no, Mayfield's still there.
We could do Mac Jones, and we can take Tyquan Thornton.
Slayton's there, by the way, if you want Slayton.
Yeah, but I think I'd want to correlate with Mac Jones here, would be my preferred method to do this.
Why? I'm just curious. Like, if you have Jones, why would you want the Mac Jones?
Because we already have Jalen Hyatt, and I think we're betting on Jalen Hyatt a little bit more. And I think there's an outside chance Slayton doesn't make the team, to be completely honest.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
They have so many guys. Like Shepard's another one who
We'll do Slayton. We'll do Slayton because we might be able to push Thornton. So we'll try it.
Yeah.
We are 3-5-8-2 right now. We have 2 picks left. I think this is a perfect team to only be 5 running backs, though, because we have Ramondre, James Cook, J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Warren, and Jeff Wilson. I think that is a fine team to have 5 running backs on because we're so strong. So I think we can do another tight end and another wide receiver. I think we have a tight end and a luxury pick, to be perfectly honest.
You can name this. We're going to bookmark this team. We're going to know, right? Can't you name the team and say this is the one we drafted on the stream? And
you can only name it on Underdog.
Oh, DK won't allow you to do that. That's
if this does make it through the second round, all my teams on DraftKings that make it through the second round, I'll start trying to make sure that it was teams. I want to find out the teams that I streamed, right? So
yeah,
I will look and see if this team makes it through. I will let you know, and we will be splitting the winnings on this one.
Oh no, that's not what I was doing. I was not fishing for any.
That's
that was
how I
not
do
my
it.
angle.
Though. That is what I do, though.
That was just to be clear. I was not working that angle. That's not what I was.
No, that is what I do for these.
All right.
So.
Well, here we go. Let's. Well, if it's a Billy, though, I mean, come on. There's no way. There's no way you give me. No, I don't want that. It's too much.
We'll talk
Cue
about
this playing in a courtroom in like a year from today. I was joking. I was trying to look like a decent guy, but clearly I want $500,000.
Yeah. So we do lose Tyquan Thornton here. He goes in the 18th, a little bit past us, but it's
what
okay.
are our tight end options? So it's got to be better than Zach Ertz, right? I've yet to draft Zach Ertz.
Yeah, dude, we're not drafting Zach Ertz. I'd draft anything. I mean, Conklin's still there for some reason. That's an interesting.
He's better
name.
than Ertz. Yeah,
but there's a guy sitting there that we would really prefer to get, in my opinion.
Question: hypothetically, if you have Lamar or if you have Andrews, like how do you handle Likely? Because it feels like Likely, and correct me if I'm wrong, when it comes to the tight end perspective, tight end position. Nobody has the biggest ability to jump up high enough if an injury were to occur. Not rooting for injuries, but like if it happens, it's football. So how are you handling Likely? Would you draft him a la carte? Would you, you said luxury piece. He might be a luxury piece that can open things up. Do you have to have Andrews to draft him? Is it a terrible idea to draft them both? You have to have Lamar to draft Likely. I don't know how to handle Likely. I'm curious, what are the pros doing with Likely?
So if you look at my percentage of Likely, I have 15% Isaiah Likely.
Okay.
I would say that I don't think I've drafted him with Mark Andrews at all. I think that I'm not going to handcuff a tight end. That just seems like we talked about betting against ourselves. I do handcuff running backs occasionally. Like if it's Tony Pollard, I was grabbing Malik Davis just because it's so far down. And I guess you could make that argument with Likely, but I'm trying to keep it to 3 tight ends for the most part. So you're really only drafting 2 tight ends at that point type of deal. But I like Likely standalone and I like Likely paired with Lamar. So I think there's enough there. Like I said, I have 15% of them. I'm almost double the field on Isaiah Likely. To your point, there's no tight end in the back end here that could be, if Andrews goes down, Likely becomes a top 3 tight end, probably.
He's like
definitely
85% Andrews, something like that. Whatever he is, he's going to work in that system pretty well.
And I think Likely has some standalone value too. I don't think it's like a huge standalone value thing, but I think he's going to be on the field still. They're not just going to keep him off the field. I can't imagine that he doesn't get some snaps.
I'm kind of surprised he hasn't gone yet because I think he's not like an unknown. People are aware, like if he gets unlocked, he's a thing. Like, why would you take Ertz? It's like, well, is that our boy that like took that was listening to the show? It might have been.
It might have been.
How many tight ends does he have? I see at least 3 on the board that's showing, and that's 3.
Those are his 3.
Yeah. Okay.
So he went Chig with Ertz and Kate Otten. Another great name, by the way. C. Otten. Cotton. What are we doing?
Didn't piece that together, but I don't. What's his middle name? Do we know?
I don't know, but I think this is just another cruel joke by parents. Like parents are just awful, terrible people. Parents.
They don't know how. You got to think long term. Like you got to play it out. Like what is my kid going to be called in 3rd grade? Is like the game you got to play before you officially write the name down.
So we're back on the clock here. As much as I like Likely and as much as we talked him up, we have no pairing with Sam Howell. I think Cole Turner is the play here.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest. And then we kind of have what I think is a luxury pick.
Meaning it could be a wide receiver or a running back. I guess it could be a tight end too.
We could do
favorite flyer?
We could do Likely here. I wouldn't hate this team having Likely on it for a 4 tight end build.
There's no elite tight end, right?
No, we don't have an elite tight end. I don't hate it. Let's star him and let's just kind of look through the wide receivers one more time. It's pretty. We could go Booty, who I think is going to get cut from what I'm hearing.
Who?
Butte from New England.
Is he French? How do you pronounce that? Do we know? I never heard it before. Booty or Butte?
I think it's I've heard it both ways. I haven't heard
Okay.
him. I haven't heard him say it. We ended up getting Likely because I
Okay.
starred him. But so another fun little thing for our Spike Week tools over here. We can see our team,
Yeah.
but we can also see our playoff view for our Week 17 matchups. So
Oh
we see
man.
that we have New England and Buffalo matchups. We got San Fran and Washington, and we got Miami, Baltimore. So if you're trying to keep track of that as you draft, you can see that as well. Our team, though, as constructed, we went AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ramondre Stevenson, Debo Samuel, James Cook, J.K. Dobbins, Daniel Jones, Cortland Sutton, Sky Moore, Pat Fryermuth, Jalen Warren, David Njoku, Sam Howell, Jalen Hyatt, Jeff Wilson Jr., Tank Dell, Mac Jones, Slayton, Cole Turner, Isaiah Likely. I think it's a pretty solid team. We got a double stack with Daniel Jones. We got a stack with all our quarterbacks in some form or fashion. Some Week 17 correlation. Start with the AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown pairing, which is a lot of fun. Any regrets with this team?
No, I think we did pretty good. Sam Darnold was just selected. Have you picked a backup quarterback yet? Is that something you've done? I imagine no.
Not this year. I did it in DK a little bit last year when I was taking God, I'm drawing a blank. Who is the backup quarterback in Baltimore? Huntley.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
took some Tyler Huntley occasionally, like maybe 2% of the time, maybe 1% of the time, just because you had so many bullets. And I felt like if anyone went down, like Huntley was going to be great. Lamar went down, Tyler Huntley sucked, and it didn't end up mattering at all. So um, people are, but this is reactionary. You're going to see this in drafts because you saw Trey Lance get traded. You're
Mhm.
going to start seeing people grab Sam Darnold because now they know he's the number 2, and it's just like they can't help themselves sometimes.
But there's a
So,
yeah, I mean, but like we're talking about Likely being the guy is one quarterback injury, right? Any quarterback injury, you think that's the best theoretically, let's say all of the number one quarterbacks are hurt and now all the number twos are starting.
mhm.
Who's the quarterback one? It's not Sam Darnold, is it? I don't think so.
You think that if Purdy goes down, you don't think Sam Darnold's starting?
No. I'm saying if every number one gets hurt, every number one quarterback is down. Now every team is starting their number two quarterback. Who is the
Mhm.
best quarterback to grab?
Oh, it's not Darnold. I think it's
That's the
system
point I'm making.
related though. Yeah,
Yep.
I think people are looking at this two ways. Purdy is coming in with an injury, although he
Okay.
has been playing, right? And there is some uncertainty with Purdy as well. I mean, he came in and did what he did, but he did it for half the year, got injured. What's he going to look like? Is Shanahan going to get like, shaky legs with him? And let's be honest, any quarterback that Shanahan has put in that system, for the most part, has had some relevancy. CJ Beathard is a guy we used to talk about in
Beat hard.
DFS,
Beat
right?
hard.
Right? So like you would say that he was viable because of the system he was playing in. So I think that's what plays into it. I don't think it's because it's Sam Darnold. I think it's because he's the backup. He is now the backup on San Francisco, and there is a bit of a path to him playing.
Yeah,
Is
yeah. Like if you're gonna bet on the backup that's most likely to play, like if you're gonna have a draft for that, he's probably a top 5 pick. So that's more the crux of it. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, and the
Um,
league in the comments says he has one of the highest chances of seeing game action by week 4, which is
yeah,
a much more concise way to say what I said. So shout out to you, the league, because that is way better than the way I worded
yeah.
it. But I'm on
Tennessee might be another
stream. I have
place
to
you make it a
talk.
backup. Who knows? Depending on how they open up, that kind of thing. But yeah,
They're gonna have to open real bad because I think that although they shouldn't be, they're going for it because their division's so weak. So they're gonna ride with Tannehill probably until their bye week, is what I would say. So I think that's what is that, week 8, week 9, week 7. So I don't think you see the backup come in for Tennessee until week 8. And I think that's only if they're really bad. So
yeah. I saw somebody picking Mike White the other day, like banking on another, I guess, Tua,
Tua,
concussion or something, which is whatever. I don't know, man. It's a strange route to go. I kind of get it, I guess, sort of, but it's
that correlates to the to the San Francisco thing though, because Mike McDaniel, the former offensive coordinator in San Francisco, was very successful with quarterbacks. So if Tua does go down, there could be some standalone value in Mike White. I'm not doing it. I kind of get it to an extent. It feels like a burnt pick, and I don't know. I just couldn't do it. And you have to. We're already trying to thread needles.
Yeah,
Like, you know
you're
what I
really
mean?
gonna thread the needle with that one.
It just feels like just an extra layer you don't have to get into.
McDaniel's the best, right? Isn't he the best?
He's great.
Yeah, I love him. I love his attitude. He's fun.
Yeah.
I wish every coach had the same attitude he has. Just spectacular. I love when he's mic'd up. Like, who was the receiver when he was yelling to stop? Like, stop, stop catching the ball.
Yeah.
He just won't listen.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy McDaniel. I hope he's in the league for 20 years. But,
he's a lot of fun to watch. I thought he was a little awkward at first, but I do enjoy him. What are your plans for best ball for these next less than 2 weeks? Are you looking to try to max any tournament? Are you putting an emphasis on a certain site, a certain tournament?
I don't know if this is a contrarian take or not. I feel like I'm good at closing. So just like in my home draft, like I feel really, really good. Everybody knows who to pick in the first 3 or 4 or 5 drafts, rounds, that kind of thing. I feel like I'm good at closing. So the more chances, the more bullets I have, I think I have an increased opportunity. So I do prefer playing on DK and drafters as opposed to underdog. I like underdog. It's fun, but I leave that every single time being like, oh man, I don't have enough this and that. And I suppose that's the point. That's the purpose. Like there's a reason why it's not 30 rounds. But I'm going to be hammering drafters because you get a bunch of tickets if you keep playing them. I got an email.
Another ticket weekend this weekend.
Is it 20? How many teams do I have to draft now this weekend? Because
if you draft 10 teams, you're going to get 2 tickets. And if you draft 20, you're going to get 4. But the difference for this weekend is they're including slow drafts as well. So I fired up 5 slows today. I'm going to fire up 5 more slows tomorrow. I'm doing some fast drafts in between as well to get those tickets. Dean,
is that 4 hours? 4 hours or 8 hours now? What is it?
It's 8 hours for now. I think it switches to 4 hours next 4 hours next Friday or 2 hours next Friday.
Yeah.
I asked in the Discord earlier today and somebody showed me. So it does switch, I think, next Friday. Dean, I had 0 drafters teams as of 3 weeks ago.
Really? Okay. So me and you are probably the same level. I was telling you before the show, I think we were in the same draft. You just didn't know it because you were multi-tabling possibly.
Multi-tabling, and I have just hit my 99th draft for that tournament.
Woof.
So in 3 weeks, I've done 99. I've still been firing BBM. I have 10 BBM teams left to do. And that was actually just my 100th $10 DK team that we've done. So I'm not going to max that tournament on DK. I just not going to have time. I want to fire the 250 single entry, but I'm kind of almost done on DK.
Where's that? There's a 250 single entry on DK. That sounds fun. Maybe I'll jump in there.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to do that one. If you're not aware of them, the best tournaments in all of best ball are the 3 max tournaments on DK. There's a 3 max $100 tournament if it's still available. I've already maxed it out, so I can't see it in the lobby. There's a $9 one as well. And their payout structure is amazing on those. Like it's pretty flat.
Flatter? I like a flat payout.
Way flat. So those are good, and their single entry is flat, and it's really good. So
the only thing I like about drafters is that I've not been obsessed with, oh my God, who's playing week 17, and I understand why people are. But drafters is obviously a different format where they don't care. It just
doesn't matter.
It's like every other week. Yeah. So I just feel like my brain works better for that site, and it's probably going to overlay. We'll see. And it's a flat payout as well. With 300K to first, is it 2 million as far as the total prize pool? I think it is. That's pretty flat. So that's where I've been playing mostly. I've been playing some on underdog and some on DK, but I feel like I'm mostly incentivized to play on drafters, and that's what I'll be playing. If you guys are watching the show, you're gonna probably, if you're playing some drafters, you'll be playing there with me, and hopefully we pile up 6 tickets or something like that. If you get some extra bonus, I assume you have a promo code. I think there's a promo code on screen, right?
Yep. Promo code Spike, get you 100% deposit match bonus if you haven't deposited yet. So you can do that. They're doing the whole August tournament. Like if you drafted a certain amount of teams in August, September 1st, you're going to get tickets in your account as well. So definitely check out drafters as well. And Dean, you know how you actually learn the week 17 games, right?
I would assume with the Spike Week tools.
Well, actually, you listened to the week 17 shanty. Have you heard the week 17 shanty?
I don't think so. What is this?
Oh my God. I'm after we end the stream, I'm gonna send it over to you.
Okay.
There is a week 17 shanty that I do every year. So I'm gonna help you out. You're gonna watch this video.
I'm
You're
looking
gonna
forward to
learn
it.
week 17. Anything you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, well, just feel free if you want to hit me up on the old Twitter machine. Tell me how bad my takes are. It's at DFS_almanac. If you're playing in DFS, actual DFS, I know it's not what we're talking about here, but there is a Venn diagram. Check out the stuff over at Roto-Grinders. I'm on Wednesday nights. This is not official. I don't know if this has been officially announced, but it's gonna happen. Rich Rebar, John Daigle, you know those guys? They're really sharp. Wednesday nights during the regular season, we'll be doing kind of a sort of a first look DFS perspective, FanDuel and DK Sunday mornings. I believe we're going to be starting at 9:30 over at Roto-Grinders, streaming all the way up to lock first kickoff at 1 o'clock on the East Coast. So, my schedule is ramping up. Still doing baseball if you care about baseball. That's why we had to push the show back a few minutes, because I was making some baseball lineups, and I'm curious how Mookie Betts is doing in his return to Boston tonight. I've not looked at any baseball. I wanted to give you my 100% of my attention for this show, but that's
the weather
what I'm doing.
here sucks. So I don't know how he's doing, because the weather here is garbage, just so you know.
Yeah, it was kind of fickle. There was a chance there was a possible rain delay. I've not seen how it's turned out, but rooting
that
for
Wednesday
Betts,
night show with Rich and John Daigle, two of my really good friends in the industry. I need to be on that show once this year, because I need to do the movie part with you guys.
Oh,
I'll come in, I'll throw some football takes for you, but I need to review a movie with you guys and show you how to properly review a movie.
I don't make these calls; these aren't my calls. But I would. The door is open on my end. By all means,
I have access to the StreamYard. I have access to the StreamYard. I'll just do what I want to
do. Hey, we'll figure it out. We'll adjust. I don't know if we're going to carry. We haven't talked just yet. I'm going to send those guys a DM. I'm not. I guess I'm not as close of friends as I am with them as you are. But nice humble brag. Yeah. For some reason, I just kind of go in my closet. They do their thing. I follow all their content in the offseason. We have not chatted just yet, but love working with them. And you obviously, I don't need to sell you. You know that they're both spectacular.
That is a must-listen show to me during the week when football season's there. I'll listen to you guys. So, on that note, let's go ahead and get out of here. For myself, for Dean, check out some of the Spike Week tools. We will catch you later. Peace. Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.